Hey guys, what is up? It's Alex here, and today we're going to an F1 2012 career mode video, and I can see here I'm starting 17th in the Toro Rosso at Hockenheim in Germany, and away we go. I'm starting on the prime tyres. I thought I'd do something different. I didn't have a very eventful qualifying, and I started 17th. I did beat my teammate somehow, and apart from that, it didn't go too well in qualifying. But in this race, and as hopefully for the rest of the series, I will be turning off some of these assists, and for this one I've turned off ABS, so you'll see in some of these corners I'm locking up, and it's sort of ruining my race a little bit because I'm getting into sort of places where I don't want to be. But if it makes it more entertaining for you guys and makes it a bit more fun to watch, I'm happy to do that and enjoy the series a little bit more from a viewer's point of view. So here we go up into the first long straight of the race, and we're going side by side with Button down the long back straight. We've got Raikkonen right in front of us as well, and what is going to happen, we're going to brake a little bit later. The tyres lock up, the wheels lock up, and we have nowhere to go. Grosjean's there, Raikkonen sort of pushes us off the track, and then Button gets past as well. Now down to 9th position, Massa's going around with no front wing. I think that's actually a glitch in this game where the AI just drive around with no front wing, and it's a bit weird. It's happened quite a lot of times in this career mode so far, but I just wanted to point it out there. So we're on the first lap down to 9th position, but that's not too bad considering we started 17th. And for everybody asking, I'm actually on pro difficulty with some of the assists turned off, and at the moment it's just ABS, and then over time I'll hopefully turn off traction control. But then it is very hard to drive without assists on a pad, but I will try and learn the best I can and maybe get a wheel in the future. So locking up into the hairpin near the end of the lap, nearly got that really badly wrong, but luckily I didn't end up in the gravel and losing lots of time. So now Massa is in 10th position, and we're still in the points, which is good for us, but overall we could have got a bit better out of that lap if we hadn't been pushed wide by Raikkonen. So going on to lap 2 here, we've still got a decent lead to the guy behind, and Schumacher now. We've got 1 second to him and 2 seconds to Button in front. But overall, I think that was a pretty decent first lap. Hopefully I didn't hit off anybody, and hopefully it was pretty clean. And down here into this turn, I'm looking up quite badly and hitting into the back of Raikkonen a little bit. But for some reason he was going very slowly, and Button even got past it around the outside into that turn. So we got that position done. We got a set in our first sector, and we're trying to catch up Button now. We actually did quite a quick first sector there and caught up to these guys, even though they are quite a lot faster on the track. Now we'll skip ahead a couple of laps. We're on to lap 8 now. I thought I'd skip out this bit because it's not been that interesting. What's happened is pretty much everyone's pitted except half the field, and you can see there Alonso behind me is pitted, and a lot of other guys have pitted, so I'm up to 5th, now 4th, now 3rd, and then we're going to go out side by side the pit lane with Lewis Hamilton, and Raikkonen is going to be right beside us when we come out the pit lane, but it's Hamilton versus Alonso behind me out of the pits, and it's going to be a close one between them two till the end of the race. And looking up slightly into the corner before the long straight, and I'm not going to have DRS, but I don't think the guys behind me are going to either, because they seem to be quite far behind. 1.7 to Alonso, so he's lost a lot of time, probably a bit of a battle with Hamilton, meaning he's lost time and actually meant that I'm allowed to pull away in my Toro Rosso. So we skip ahead a couple of corners and we come to the end of the lap. I've got a bit of dirt on my tyres, which means I don't turn into the pit lane perfectly and end up in the gravel trap. And anyway, coming into the pit lane, hopefully the Toro Rosso crew will do a good job. I'm in the slower fuel mode now. I thought I'd turn it down whilst I'm going through the pit lane to bit of fuel towards the end of the race. Apparently I'm going to rejoin 6th, but that doesn't look very realistic. That's a bit sort of glitchy, because that's definitely not going to happen, because we're down to 7th already, and there's a car that's going to come out side by side with us coming out the pit lane, and that's actually Button. Raikkonen's lost a lot of time coming out the pits, and we're actually going to be going side by side with Button, not Raikkonen, and that's quite amazing because Button's had an absolutely amazing couple of stints there. We put it up into the fast fuel mixture, we break it down into the corner. Once again, we've had a lot of mishap and mayhem through the race so far, and then we're going to try and get a bit onto the DRS, and we're using a lot of curves to make sure that happens. DRS and curves to the max down the back straight, making sure the Button doesn't get away, and make sure we're going to get him down the inside here. Or maybe we're going to go for the outside. We're going to see what's going to happen. I think about going down the inside, leaving it late, locking up the brakes, and making sure that there's no contact that is made, to keep it on the apex and making sure that Button doesn't get the position. He's going to try and run side by side, but I'll use the rest of my curves to make sure I get the position. Then we'll move on to the next lap. I think it was lap 12, and we're going to move on and see that Button, as well as 2 other cars, have actually caught up to the back of me, and Button goes for a move down the outside. Absolutely amazing move around there, and we're going to try and get a position back without any curves to defend ourselves this time. We're going to go around the outside just like Sebastian Vettel did in real life on Jensen Button. I'm going to try and do it. I don't run over the curb and outside the racing line just like Vettel did, and actually get the move on Button. Well, I was pretty proud of that move, and I'm quite lucky that I didn't make any contact, but pretty decent driving from both of us there, which meant we didn't retire from the race from a stupid accident, which could have occurred if we'd been a little bit more aggressive and probably ended up in the wall. So now we've got 2 other cars except from me and Button right behind me, and we've actually got Grosjean 7 seconds up the road. That's an unlikely target, but we're not actually doing too badly in the Toro Rosso. I'm not that quick, but I'm just trying to make it a bit more interesting for you guys. What I'm going to probably do is turn it up to, or leave it on pro until I get an offer from a better team, and then probably over time get into a better car, and then maybe turn it up to legend again. again and keep the assists off. But then Button dives down the inside there. I'm lucky that I had the ABS off there because I don't spin it, I just slide it sideways. And now Schumacher gets the position back on me. So a couple of positions lost in that corner. Raikkonen's down to 10th. We're going to try and do our best here. Schumacher's got a slow run through turn 1. We've got him there. That was quite easy. Now we're going to use as much curves as possible to try and get in the DRS zone of Button and get back past him. There's a lot of DRS moves on Button through this whole race. I remember 5 or 6 just off the top of my head, and quite a lot of them are shown in this video. We're setting a fastest purple sector in sector 1, and we're actually going to hopefully catch Button by the end of the straight, but we're not actually in the slipstream. The only thing we've got to catch him at the moment is the DRS, so we're going to have to do a very, very late move if we're going to do one whatsoever. And he's braking quite early. We're going to try and go for it. We hit the back of him, give him a bit sideways, but make sure we don't overtake him through the corner. We're going side by side up to this next corner. He's still ahead. I've still got my car on the inside though, so it's going to be very, very close going into this one. We go into the corner. Button just turns into the corner like I wasn't there, and Button loses the position because of that. So we're up to 7th once again after a bit of mayhem there. And we're going to keep going and keep going because this is quite entertaining couple of laps here. I think there was just 2 solid laps where it was actually entertaining racing. Now Button's right in the back of me once again. What's he going to try and do? No, he can't go through there. That's quite a hard turn to get right. But we're actually setting a fast sector here and lap time overall, and we're actually getting a 1.1 up on our pace lap, which is very, very good for me at least. Now coming through these last couple of corners of the lap, are we going to set a fastest lap? It will be pretty awesome if we can, but I doubt it will be possible. Coming around the final corner of the lap, and we set a half decent lap time there and actually get us further on. So we'll move on to lap 16 here, and we've actually got 2.7 seconds to Button behind us. Now we've been pulling out over the last couple of laps and keeping it in a decent fuel mode, but then we go into the gravel, losing us a lot of time. Very slow out of there. Button's going to be right onto the back of us now, as well as the other cars that are in that pack. I think Raikkonen's in there, and I think Schumacher's in there as well, so it's going to be a very, very tough one to keep these guys behind me, especially with the gravel on my tyres. I've lost about 4 or 5 seconds out of this lap alone, and meaning that I probably could have got a half decent lap time there if I hadn't spun it into the gravel. But we're going to try and do our best, keeping onto the apex there. Turn 1's always hard. It can sometimes end up as like a launch ramp, and you can end up flying in the air, but I didn't do that. I cut it about perfectly, got the cars on the tyres on the apex even, and yeah, going on to the back section of the track, the long straight. Only 0.3 seconds to Button right behind us now. It's about 14 or 15 seconds to Grosjean ahead of us. Button just goes for it on the outside. I think that's the 5th or so video we've seen on this video of him overtaking me around the outside there, but we're going to try and go down the inside. He overtook us much later in the straight there, so it was quite easy to overtake that one, and quite a clean overtake there. There was 1 or 2 overtakes in that move there I've done with Button, which wasn't clean, but overall that was a pretty fun, and yeah, we've pretty much got this 7th or 8th place in the bag now, just depending on Button how he does. But definitely turning the ABS off definitely makes it a lot harder for me, especially with the controller. It means that I'm sliding about everywhere. But Fernando Alonso wins the race. We put it into the rich fuel mixture to make sure that Button doesn't have a chance to overtake us. Even though we're in fuel optimum, we can probably still make it to the end on fast. And we only got 2 tenths to Button. Alonso sets the fastest lap on his last lap of the race, and considering he had a battle with Hamilton right out of pits, that was pretty good by him. Now we're coming around the last couple of corners of the race, and Fernando Alonso still won it obviously, and Button still right behind us. But coming around the final corner, we set a half decent lap time I think in the end, but Vettel does a very fast lap to take the fastest lap on the final lap of the race. So what an exciting race that was. 7th position after all that crazy moves with Button. I really, really enjoyed that race with Button, and obviously in real life I wouldn't have been racing Button in the Toro Rosso, but that was quite interesting to watch on the video. So there we go guys, I finished 7th position on the road. I think about 15 seconds to Grosjean ahead of us, and we probably could have been a bit closer I think if I hadn't made so many mistakes. But yeah, an exciting race. Kobayashi setting some fast laps towards the end. You can see there he was only 1/10 of Fernando Alonso's fastest lap time. And yeah, looking at the points in any second now for the championship, it's a lot closer towards the end of this race than it was at the start. And yeah, looks like there's only a 3-point gap from Hamilton to Alonso in the championship, which is exciting for them at the top, considering they had a close race here. And it says Afro thinking of next year, Toro Rosso. And am I going to be moving from Toro Rosso? We'll see. We'll go on to the next clipping, as you can see in the bottom of your screen on the little A button any second. So yeah, it was a pretty good race for me in the Toro Rosso. First time I actually used it with the ABS. I mean, obviously I tried it a little bit, but first time I did a proper race without ABS. So you can see here we've actually got a contract offer from Sauber. So what's going to happen? You'll see in the next video.